the ego it knows how to survive. It understands how to survive.
Mm.
And for many lifetimes, if you believe in lifetimes, like I do, I believe in future lives, past lives, and things like that. It's like there's the ego has. If you've come here, you may have done many rounds, many different lives, and the ego has cultivated this understanding how to be safe on this planet. So the ego is about safety, and the soul is about love.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, we're here. Welcome to the Can't Be Contained.
Are we start? Is this real?
Dude, you started when you came out of the womb.
Okay, I had no idea we just started.
Oh yeah, we just started.
Okay, cool.
And
Do it again. Start again. Can't Be Contained. Go. Welcome to Can't Be Contained with Andrew and Samantha Skelly.
Welcome to the Can't Be Contained podcast. Andrew?
Sam.
What up?
What's up, Sam? How are you?
Thanks for breaking in my new set chairs. I couldn't imagine anyone better to break in these fancy little chairs.
They're pretty rad. They're like little 70s chairs. I like them. I'm appreciating them. Yeah.
I think so too.
It's fantastic to be one of the first in this studio. I'm really excited.
Honor.
I'm actually feeling pretty honored. I'm stoked you reached out to me to do this.
I love that you thought it was a joke. That's my favorite part of this interview is you literally thought the email from my assistant to you was a joke.
I did. I thought you were messing with me. Like I really thought I was going to show up here and you weren't going to be here or something else was going to happen. I have no idea. Because the email was so quick. It made no sense. Like you and I had no prior conversation about a podcast. And you're like, Monday, you're available for the podcast. I'm like, what podcast? I have no idea what's going on.
This is so good.
Yeah.
I love the trust you have in me. This is wonderful.
I do. I trust you. Yeah.
This is wonderful. So I'm super grateful that we're here in the studio having this conversation. What's unique is you are someone in my life that had a really big impact on my life when I was about to say transitioning, but you can't really say that word without it meaning something else these days. So when I was going through a little bit of an awakening, shall we say?
Transitioning works. It's good. It's kind of like a spiritual transitioning.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. There we go. I was having a spiritual transition. This was right up when I was moving to San Diego and I was discovering this whole world of energy and embodiment and parts work and inner child work. And I remember this one day coming into your office and sitting down and we were doing parts work. And I just remember this moment of like, oh, I am not these little parts of me. And it was that moment where we were able to identify like the witness, the adult version of me, the witness, and these little parts of me that have all of these insatiable needs constantly. And it was interesting because during that transition was it was almost like the unmerging of those two, unmerging of, oh, I am not this. I am actually something so much greater and so much more embodied and so much more powerful. So I love that. And thank you for helping me with all that.
Total honor. Absolute honor. Like, yes.
Yeah. Let us know your story a little bit about your own awakening because it is one of the more unique ones.
Okay. So story's pretty long, but I'll shorten it.
I told you we have 7 hours.
Okay, cool.
Andrew asked how long it was. I said 7 hours.
This is about a 15-hour story.
Okay, great. I'm here. I'll just bring me some snacks and I'm here.
So just like most people, living my life pretty confused. And most of my life growing up, not really have much direction, not clear where I was going, what I was doing, up until in my early 30s. In 2014, I had a near-death experience, basically that became a catalyst for my journey that brought me here, that brought beautiful interactions with someone like you and people to me. That near death was a surfboard. Someone's board hit me in the back of my head, it basically speared me and knocked me out in the ocean. It hit me so hard that my brain bounced and it hit the front of my skull and the back of my skull. I had 3 bleeds in my brain. So it's pretty gnarly hit, right? And a woman saved me, brought me to shore. She basically towed me in. When I was underwater, like something kind of shot through me. It felt like maybe adrenaline or something just kind of like woke me up. And I was like draped across my surfboard and she can tell something was going on. So she pulled me to shore and then they took me to the hospital and they found the bleeds. So that became a nightmare in itself. So for many months, basically, I was struggling with so many different symptoms. I was in pain, migraines, personality changes. It was just an absolute nightmare, and I couldn't get the help I was looking for from like Western medicine. There's a lot of similar stories out there where you kind of get dropped in the
Mm,
system, right?
mhm,
And that's how I felt. I felt like I was getting dropped. I was working for a company that I lost my job because they thought I wasn't coming back. Basically, fired me when I was on
mm,
disability. So stress like piled on top of everything, brain injury, had to switch doctors because I lost my job. And then for about 5 months, I just hit like this rock bottom. And it was like something in me, like just kind of like welled up and it was like, you gotta figure this out and you gotta heal yourself. You gotta look within. Right. So if for some reason, there was something that welled up in me that knew I had to like know myself
yeah.
in order to heal myself,
Mm,
which was something
that's
that had
powerful.
totally. And
Mm,
it came from a deeper calling, like from this place. I remember I can reflect back and I felt it was like, I'm kind of pointing to my body, right? Because I could feel like it was something like within my being that knew that was the way to get well.
mm,
And it wasn't from like my head or thoughts. So basically, I started doing EMDR therapy. I started reading about like personal development,
mm.
started looking at different wisdom traditions like Zen practices, meditation practices. Um, and that took me on a wild ride. All of a sudden, after doing EMDR therapy for a while, I started feeling better. And I ended up experiencing synchronicities. So if you're familiar with synchronicities, I know this. And
Mm,
basically, synchronicities started leading me to people and places and experiences that were things I was reading about, things I was hearing about in this world. And then I was led to this woman where I was sitting across from her, just like this. And I didn't know anything about her or what she did, but the synchronicities were so strong that I had to go meet with her.
mm,
And she's looking at me and I'm talking, telling her about my journey up until this point. I'm still wondering, like in this moment, like what does this woman do? Don't know much about her. And basically for 5 minutes, I just kind of like puke my entire history on her
mm.
and all that I've been experiencing, all the suffering. And she's just like smiling at me, nodding her head, just listening. And I just remember
Yeah.
this feeling of like
Mm,
someone's actually listening to me, and I could like feel this woman was
yeah.
just fully present and being with me, right? So after I just kind of puked all this information on her, she takes her glasses off and she starts to tell me about there's these patterns that we are all using to protect ourselves. We come into this world and we're basically needing these defenses and strategies to protect ourselves from overwhelm.
Mm,
Because when we're young, our nervous systems are so underdeveloped that if too much energy hits us, too much overwhelm, we could die.
right.
So these strategies are there keeping us safe. And I'm just kind of like looking at her, like confused, like, okay, great. And
Tell me more.
she exactly. And she
Mm,
tells me that people are asleep and they're walking around this world and they have no idea what's really going
yeah.
on. And I'm like nodding my head and just listening to her. And she said it's kind of like the Matrix. And she said it's kind of like Neo, like where he wakes up and he sees a whole different reality. And I thought that I knew what she was talking about. And I didn't, because
Mm,
eventually she basically, after about 6 or 7 minutes hanging with her, she puts her hands up and she basically says, every once in a while you'll pop up and you'll see something going on up here. She
yeah.
puts her hands up. She's like, she kind of puts her hand through her hand. And I'm just like, what is this lady talking about? She's so odd. It's so
She's so
weird.
crazy.
And she's saying it takes work
Mm,
to be up here.
yeah.
And she asked me if I want to know what it feels like to be up here.
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, let's do this, right? So basically I said yes. And in this moment, sitting across from her, no, not touching, just like this distance, I started feeling something in my lower belly. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I backed away. I literally
yeah.
freaked out. I was like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
happening right now? Is this lady like an angel? Is this lady an alien?
A
Like
demon.
a
What's
demon?
going
Like
on here?
she says, do I want to know what it feels like to be up here? And I start to feel something in my
Ooh.
belly. And I could feel that it was terror. And this
Mm,
inner voice said, don't resist.
yeah.
And basically the best way to describe this is that I dropped my awareness into my lower belly and I felt this terrified place within me and the terror dissolved.
Ooh.
And by being with it and dropping my awareness in it, when the terror dissolved, this energy shot up through the center of my body, like really quickly and exploded. And in that moment, I felt love
Wow.
and it was everywhere.
Wow.
And I knew that nothing
Mm,
mattered and everything mattered.
mm,
And it's just like these downloads started coming in through every cell of my body. And I could feel the trees, the ocean, the sky, the people, humans, everything, everywhere. And I was nothing and everything and connected to it all. And I no longer existed in that moment. Like I disappeared, I dissolved. And then I just started laughing. And then her and I just started laughing for, felt like 15 minutes. And that was the, like a short version again to a very long story, but it's like, this became like another catalyst that something occurred to me in that day where I left her house, I went home, and the search that I was on, that I didn't know I was on, ended. Like I felt this void that was filled.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, Sam, and I was just in my apartment where actually you first met me.
That's right.
And
I did go there.
And I'm smiling and I'm just in bliss. And in the background is this thing talking to me, trying to tell me where to go, who to be, what to do. And it was my personality. And I could see it. Like it was like a feeling seeing it. And I was totally like separated from it, but not separated from it.
I got you.
It was like all there was love for this part of myself, or this personality side of myself. And it was just, all I could do is love it. And that was the catalyst that led me on a whole new journey to like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
And that the journey got wild after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something at the beginning where you said humans are confused. We're walking around confused. We're walking around disconnected, and disconnection from that feeling is the source of all suffering.
Yeah.
The what is the fucking point of being here type of energy, which I get it. I get it. And when there is that fundamental disconnection from self, from source, maybe we call that God, maybe we call that universe, whatever it is, there is a flat feeling. And what's interesting is you really have contrast in your world where you felt that, let's say, asleep, flat, dull feeling, and now you're living as this energized, embodied, connected to the everything, everywhere, and in this moment energy. So for those people who are listening, who are feeling that flatness, maybe they're listening to this podcast because they're like, I want me some of that, but like, how do I find this bitch with the glasses to like take me to the promised land? Like, can someone throw a surfboard at my head and wake me the fuck up?
That's funny.
So yeah, just give us a little bit of like, what is like a bite-size version of awakening, or getting on the path of awakening to find that felt sense of freedom and love and abundance and bliss?
Yeah, it's an amazing question, and a lot of nuance in that question too. You know, what I was searching for, that I know I was searching for, is always right here. And actually in that realization, I realized I've never been separate from it. It's just that it's this illusion of separation that's there. It's this contraction in my body, this fear, this feeling of not feeling safe that would contract through my body mind system and block this felt sense of this interconnected oneness or wholeness that's there, or the true self that's there. It's this all pervasive field that exists, or this thing you can never be outside of. And it's something we're searching for. But in that search, a lot of people don't even realize they're searching for it. There's contraction in that search.
Yeah.
And in that contraction, we're basically not relaxed. We're not feeling safe. So we're not feeling that this is there. We actually feel separate from each other, separate from the thing that we really are. So I just want to say that, like, it's something that we can never be separate from. In order to realize what's there, we need to calm the body. We need to calm the mind. And there's so many tools out there. There's so many things that we can look at. For me, it was the beginning of that journey of suffering that led me to EMDR therapy. Was the start of it for me. It started to calm my mind. It started to calm my body a little bit, so I could begin to also meditate, begin to rest into feeling safer. Yeah. And it allowed me to get to a place where in that moment where this woman held a certain alignment, like, she didn't do anything to me. She held an alignment where she held this deep, compassionate state of presence, which allowed me to reconnect to myself. For me, that was my path. I sent many people to her after that, and they had amazing experiences, but not quite this deep realization. And I was like, what what is going on? Why is
Right.
nobody else
Right.
feeling this? Because we block ourselves with all the noise, with all the way the world grabs our attention. It keeps it away from ourselves. We're literally turning our attention outward. Our energy is going out to everything else and not to ourselves. So we need
Yeah.
to turn. The first step for me was when I told you that there was this deeper calling that I needed to know myself. And in that deeper calling that it rose up out of nowhere in me was that I had to turn my awareness in back to myself. I'm literally again pointing to my body because I had to turn this awareness that's focused on others, focused on looking for outside gratification, outside happiness, outside of things that are going to make me money, make me happy, help me feel safe, and turn that awareness into the body and begin to notice what's there that's actually needing my love, needing to be met with kindness and compassion.
Beautiful.
And then it melts. The ice melts back into the water. And when you melt back into the water, eventually you realize the water's always been there.
I remember this was probably like 6 years ago or something. I was sitting in your office. We were having a session. At this time, I was running my old company, Hungry for Happiness. And I was running it from a very misaligned place, if you remember.
It was a line for you at that time, but yes, it was
It was like very, I guess
I get
it
what
was,
you mean.
It was
yes.
the necessary thing that I needed to do in order to get me to where I am today, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, right?
Totally. It's true. There's the perfection of it, but yeah, at the same time, there's that misaligned, like pushing, efforting,
Yes,
feeling unsafe,
yes.
looking for that safety through whatever it is you're searching for.
I remember I would come into your office and I would just yawn the entire time because I was so tired. And the only time that I felt rest and relaxation was in your chair.
Yeah. I was pretty boring though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, your jokes are pretty shit during our sessions. Like you're better outside.
That's true.
And it was this, you said something that I resisted so hard at the time, but the constant practice was you encouraging me to rest and relax and recalibrate and come back into my body and calm down my nervous system. And I remember saying to you, but Andrew, what if it all falls apart? What if the whole company falls apart? You're like, maybe it should.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment, I was like, I hate you for saying that. But that's eventually what happened. It was less of falling apart and more of a level of like self-love to go, I'm not going to do that again. And when pause came into my awareness, I remember having a very specific commitment to myself, to the creation. I'm like, I'm not going to project my childhood wounds onto this organization and onto this company. And I'm actually going to use it as a portal for my own growth and evolution, and not just make the money or do the thing or get the accolades because I'm searching for something. It's going to be a contribution, not a source of where I get my needs met.
Nice.
And that was such a huge move. And that was from our work together of realizing that the energetic birthplace of where things are created from is where people feel it from. And so when I was running my old company, I was running it on adrenaline and caffeine and a burnt out nervous system and hustle and force and go. And so people felt that in my transmissions and in my offerings. And with pause, whenever, because I get to those places, but I quickly go, okay, I'm in overwhelm. I'm in frustration. What do I need right now?
Yeah.
What do my parts need right now? How can I get back to stabilization and harmony and coherence before I go into it? One of my girlfriends, Andrea, she says, wash your hands before you touch the baby, right?
Nice.
So like wash
Totally.
your hands before, and same thing in relationships as well, because we can do the same sort of energetic damage in relationships if we're coming from a misaligned place. But it's just so interesting, the contrast between running Hungry for Happiness in that old way and then now running Pause Breathwork in this new way, and just the difference in the culture, the energy, the vibe, the ease, the flow, like the whole thing. It's so crazy.
And the impact. The impact you have. Yeah, I love that share. Like, as you know, as you're sitting here, like I'm like kind of having this just like what's the word, like reminiscing a little bit about our journey together, and just like seeing the evolution to where you are now, and looking back in hindsight of like that surrender that you had to really surrender into and let go of that way of being, right? You were hijacked by parts.
Yes.
Right. You were living in a view of when we're hijacked from parts, we're living in a small view, right? And we're basically looking through that lens, and we're acting from that energy of adrenaline, acting from the energy of fear, acting from that energy of separation. So we're not including everybody else. We're disregarding ourselves. We're disregarding everybody else. And it's almost can be small acts of violence to ourselves by
Oh,
disregarding,
100%.
right?
100%.
And you took that, like, there's something in your share that really I feel is very important is there's a choice point. Like you made a choice. Like we have to make a choice to choose to turn to love and surrender into that. And there's times where like I have a choice, either am I going to go into fear or love here? And sometimes I go into fear, but then I'll rectify and remedy and repair any ruptures that might be there. But my dedication is very much what you're saying. The way I would say is my dedication is how do I get back into alignment before I act? Especially in my business, with my clients, with people I serve, including like how I show up here today before I even come on this podcast, right? I've done 3 meditations today. I've taken care of my body, taken care of my mind, taken care of my physical body, like took care of any parts that were arising. Like I really want to show up to be of service because that's my dedication. I actually love it and enjoy it. And I was excited that you asked me to come in today. That's like what was the saying when you wash your hands before
Wash your hands before touching the baby.
And that's how I feel. It's like I'm continually cleansing and washing and getting myself into alignment so I can show up in the world and have impact. And because of that, my reality unfolded in a way that I was able to meet people like you and be of service in a way of me just continually working on my own awakening and healing. And keeping that dedication, and I can have an impact more than I ever could have when I was living in separation and fear. And I see that in you, Sam. Like,
thank you.
I'm so proud of your evolution. Like, it's such like I think back to where you were, and it was amazing what you've done, and the risks that you take, the way you show up, the impact you have, and the way you've taken care of your body. I can feel it, and it's amazing, and people can feel that. And you're doing such amazing work in the world. I love it.
Dude,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Totally.
I appreciate that. I remember when you were coaching me through this, there was this part of me that's like, oh, that sounds great, but it's not how the business world works,
Totally.
you know? And I know there's a lot of my students who in my mastermind, the life mastermind, this is the whole reason why I started that of like, I now, because of the work that we did together and because of the journey, I now realize how good it feels to run a company from alignment and from energy. And it's like we sometimes have these grand, big visions and missions and these things that we want to do, but then our coping strategies and our survival strategies take over and just mess the whole thing up. And it's like, businesses don't fail, people fail because we don't have the emotional responsibility to take care of all of our pieces and all of our parts that don't hijack, right?
That's right.
And there was a through line in what you were sharing, which is this concept of seeking and searching and trying to find, which the energetic birthplace of that is lack, right?
That's right.
And that's so, like, so many entrepreneurs that I am in contact with, that's the energy of like, I'm not good enough. Daddy didn't love me. Mommy didn't love me. I'm coming from lack, and I'm going to prove myself to the world through my survival strategy, which, you might make a shitload of money, but you'll lose it,
right.
or you won't be happy or whatever it is. So how do we, whether we're an entrepreneur, whether we're a stay-at-home mom, because the listeners of the show were just so many different types of people, but the concept that I want us to double click into is that concept of the obsessive seeking and searching for bliss, for love, and the not realizing that it actually truly exists within us. How can we begin to unpack that a little?
I mean, you're hitting like a very pervasive core trauma that I feel like that exists in all of humanity, right? It's like this constant idea of that we're separate from ourselves, we're not good enough, and we need to prove ourselves constantly, or we're constantly trying to find safety, right? For me, it was always trying to find safety, trying to feel safe on this planet.
What does that mean to you?
To actually feel, that's a great question. To actually feel that I'm safe in my body on this planet, that I'm relaxed and open, and I can be myself truly just by feeling myself, right? So when I don't feel safe, my body's in a contracted, overwhelmed state, and I'm putting on a mask, or I'm acting in a way that is not authentically me. And when I'm acting that way, it's a program, right? It's not really who and what I am. I'm acting in history, or what we call time, right? Acting from a place that was a conditioned place that created this persona of how I need to show up in order to establish some level of safety. And I used to use humor a lot for that. I still do, by the way.
I love that part of you so much.
And now because I've used humor, I have a wit that now when I'm authentically me, I can still use that side of my personality, but be in connection with others, not feeling separate from you. Like right now, I feel safe. I feel still some nerves being on camera and being.
Don't fuck this up.
No, I'm just kidding. I just froze. We got into a freeze state. So
Trauma.
Trauma. So
Fun. We can laugh about trauma. Anyway,
at a point now, it's like that's what it feels like. We can look back and laugh, but I mean, no laughing matter usually. But but I'm gonna get canceled. No, is that what's about to happen? My 300 followers
your
on
300
Instagram.
followers are gonna be
I'm
gone,
so screwed.
bro.
So I'm sitting here with you, and I can feel that we're connected, and I feel like I have my sense of my sense of self. This like small self that exists within me, that is a personality. Like I'm here and online, and I can feel you over there, and I actually feel connected to you. I feel your vibe, your energy, your heart, your personality, your magnetism, your brightness. I can see all that and feel all that, and I can just authentically be me here, relaxed with you and open. And it's safe for me to be in this room. It's safe to be me be on this planet. It's safe to me to chase my dreams.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about safety. Yeah.
Dude, that's a big one. Like the safety to chase dreams. So many women and men in my community, they have these massive dreams, these massive visions. You know, I have a whole community of breathwork facilitators and coaches and healers and light workers and just freaking awesome people who are doing the work and just supporting and helping so much. It's just amazing. And in that, there is a lot of fear around the safety to actually be seen.
Yeah.
The safety to speak the truth or their truth or whatever. And that's so much of the work that I do with my clients and you do with your clients is like breaking through a lot of those things in order to have the voice and really articulate and express in a way where it'll be received. And even if it's not received, it's okay.
Yeah.
What is your message for people who are in that boat?
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of nuance in this because what comes up in me as you share it, like I start to consider that question about what safety is again and why it matters, right? So there's like, we have these personalities, but we also have these souls. And when I feel safe and relaxed in my body, it has allowed me to realize who and what I am, but also that's what happened with that lady when I was with her, this beautiful woman, her name, Raina.
I was going to say, are you talking about Raina?
This is Raina.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Yeah. So Raina was a huge catalyst to my life, right? So to where I'm at now, like, yeah, Raina, I love you so much. So she was like a place in that moment, a placeholder of safety for me. Like she showed up, held this alignment. It was the first time I felt truly safe, not realizing that most of the time I've been locked in this like shell, feeling that the world's out to get me. Like someone's there to hurt me. The world's against me. Everything's against me. And she was a place of safety where I opened up and this energy started flowing and this experience opened up into like beauty, bliss, and also like integration of all these parts that I've been working on healing and integrating. So the importance of that and why I'm talking about this is that eventually more and more I began to feel like this greater aspect of divinity, that we all have this spark that is a soul. And in the soul, there's this mission that like each one of us, my story is that we each come here with a mission. We have something to do. Some people might be here on vacation, more power to them. That's exciting and awesome. But for me, it feels like I came here to do something.
That's an important, I just want to double click before you go in. I had this conviction that everyone is here to wake up.
Yeah.
And then it might have been Raina, it might have been you, but someone was like, yo, Sam, some people are just here to chill.
Hang out. Yeah.
And they're actually not here to awaken and change the world and do what you want to do. And I'm like, oh, and it just like, it made me have so much more compassion.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that soul's just here to fuck around and have a good time.
It's like a vacation. That's what I mean.
100%.
Like some people might be traveling the galaxy, coming down here to hang out, checking out some things.
I loved learning
doing
that.
TikTok dances, right? I mean, they might have traveled from Pleiades for all we know, came here to do some TikToks.
That's rad.
I mean, who knows,
I'm just
right?
here to have a good time.
So it's like, I'm not here to push anything on anybody either, right? This is my path. And when I woke up, when I realized that there's more to me than just like this personality, there's a soul, and then there's like this all like pervasive self that's everywhere. So when I feel safe, this energy flows through me. And I can actually, there's like streams of information and intelligence that is my own information that informs me, and it like guides me on where to go, what to do, and how to be in the world. It's just like this part of the self that wants to be integrated. And to the people at home you were just asking about, it's like there's an importance for them to, in my opinion, to establish safety, begin to figure out why they're not feeling safe, to look at maybe there's someone out there that can offer something. Like I found somebody that guided me, and I did some meditation work, but I needed somebody to point to safety, to hold that space for me, to be that place for me to open back into what I truly am. And Raina, it was a master at that, right? You're doing that for people in amazing ways, right? I'm doing that. There's a lot of people out there like supporting people into this. So there's a lot of help and a lot of support that exists. So for the people that are listening, that are looking for that, like begin to look for people that can be a place of resource and support.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. You mentioned the difference between personality and soul. Can you unpack that a little bit? What is the personality and what is the soul?
This is my view of it. Like there's so many
Yeah.
different views, but for me, like my personality is and cultivated this life. It has flavors of like some of my soul as well. Cause I feels like when I tapped into soul, there's like my soul can get serious, but there's a lot of like humor in my soul.
Yeah.
And I like to kind of like joke and through like kind of make fun of the seriousness to kind of shift consciousness in that way if I can, right?
sure,
I know you know that.
Yeah, I know that one. I
Yeah.
know that one well.
Yeah, totally.
Remember when I was worried about going on my healing journey? I'm like, what if I'm not funny
Yeah.
anymore?
And what did I say? I say, you'll see. It's like, you're going to be funnier.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's true. Like you've gotten more and more funnier.
I
Yeah.
think so because I'm more relaxed
Yeah.
in my system. So
Totally.
I can get away with like telling jokes and not being worried about who's going to get offended. I don't
Totally.
worry about that anymore. Even like that whole like, we were kind of laughing about trauma.
Yeah.
It's like if you can't laugh at things and if
Totally.
you can't add, as long as you're not being like so mean to but if we can laugh at the human experience,
Yeah.
like we're all traumatized.
That's
we
right.
all have trauma. We
Totally.
all go through shit.
Yeah.
Yes, it's different experiences and things like that. But if we think it's so serious all the time and we don't shake it up with some like fresh comedy and energy and lightness, we're going to get so bound.
Yeah. That's right. I feel the same way. It's like, what came through me a long time ago was this like saying that life's sacred, not serious.
I love that.
And that's how I feel. Like even like the humor is sacred. The everything can have a sacred component. Finances can be sacred.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I always spell sacred scared online and it changes the whole thing.
Wait, yeah, totally. It's very
Feels yummy. Yo,
That's
you did
hilarious.
it again. It's not. Life is so scared. No, it's not. It's
I misspell things all the time, and then the only time I realize when I misspell something or miss a word is I'll proofread something like 6 or 7 times, and then I'll hit send, and then I'll read it one more time, and then I realize I've misspelled so many things, and I for some reason after I send it is when I can see that I
Oh
miss
my
words.
gosh.
Does that happen to you? Is that just
No,
me? That happens to me all the
That's
time.
a you thing.
It's totally
but I
me.
love it.
It's so bizarre. It's like it looks perfect, then I hit send, and I'm like, I read it again. I was like, I'm missing 7 words.
Eric and I all day long are asking each other to spell shit. Our kids are fucked.
That's
They're
I got
not going to
Google.
be able to spell till they're 20.
Just Google it. It's great. So going back to what you asked about the personality and the way I view this is like the personality for me has flavors and fragrances of the soul. And then a lot of that was cultivated this life, right? And part of the personality I'm included like ego structure.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
someone said this to me a while back and it was such a beautiful teaching. It was like the ego it knows how to survive. It understands how to survive. And for many lifetimes, if you believe in lifetimes, like I do, I believe in future lives, past lives and things like that. It's like there's the ego has, if you come here, you may have done many rounds, many different lives.
Yeah.
And the ego has cultivated this understanding how to be safe on this planet. So the ego is about safety and the soul is about love.
Oh, that's great. That is
Yeah.
great.
And the soul needs the ego
Yeah.
in order to navigate, which I'm saying ego is part of personality, in order to navigate the planet. So my experience of that is the more I've done healing work, the more I've expanded on this path, the more I've integrated my soul and personality, because there's a part of the journey where the soul and the personality begin to integrate and you live more from soul. What it feels like is that they've come together and they're no longer at odds, and this integration occurs where the soul is requiring the vehicle of personality and ego in order to fully manifest what it's here to do all the way through.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's important to have a personality because if I'm just sitting in the transcendent, I'm just like this wide-eyed, empty, living in the transcendent experience,
Yeah.
right? nobody's home, right? Just no,
Lights
like,
are on.
it,
No one's home.
and I've experienced
Mm,
people like that where
mm,
they've had massive awakenings or they're non-dual meditators, and nothing against this. But for
yeah.
me, if they're not there, I don't feel the interconnected,
The
like
relational
warmth, the
field.
relational field,
Yeah.
the like self to other, other to self field, right? You can create these streams with God and soul,
Mm.
but you also want to have the relational field. Because when I first woke up and I experienced love everywhere, I was like, there's love everywhere. And I need to tell everybody about this love that is everywhere. And I'm like in a cult, like,
People are, what
and
kind of
people are
drugs are
fucking
you?
running away from me. Like my family thinks I'm nuts. They think I'm in a cult. They think I'm crazy. And I'm just like blissed out, wide open in love, telling everybody wide eyed. I just look crazy, like drool coming out of my mouth, just like there's love everywhere. And that doesn't work, right? It didn't work at all. So I had to do a lot of integration work.
Mm, mm.
And that was part of the integration of soul and ego. So that's my take on like my experience. That's actually my experience of personality and soul.
What's your relationship to God in all of this and your
Oh, man.
definition?
What's my relationship to God? Sometimes I'm fucking angry at God. Sometimes I'm happy with God.
Yeah.
My story of what my experience of God is like there is a vast intelligence that is very obvious, even if you're just looking at things through a scientific lens.
Yeah.
And we have a tendency to look through things from a scientific lens and kind of reduce things down. But in that, you can still see there's a vast intelligence. Something is guiding everything. And it's pretty epic and amazing. And my experience of what we call God is there's been a few different, what I would maybe say like tastes of this and different, how do I put this to words? It's like when I first woke up, that like nothingness, everything and nothing was like a facet or an experience of this greater intelligence that we might call God. And there was love at the core of it. Everything was love at the core of our being is what we are. And that was part of this intelligence, this like loving, guiding intelligence that's everywhere. And then I've had experiences where the self has dropped away through healing and meditation practices, like later on my path. And there was like a union that occurred where there was no longer this small self, and it was like God was flowing through me, like life was flowing through me and moving me, and it was just all happening at once. And it was still this great wisdom and intelligence that is in everything. And yeah, it's putting words to it. It feels like it tries to put this very infinite experience in a box, and it feels like I'm constantly experiencing new levels of this. And then when I contract down, I'm more in relationship with it, and that's when I can get angry at God, or I can get upset, or I can feel scared again or separate. And then I can reopen, since I've been doing a lot of this work, and it's always there, just non-judgment.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I recently was talking to my students about this whole concept of God embodied, of the essence of God being within us and all around us. And growing up as a Christian, and whether they taught this or this is just how I internalized it, being a young child growing up in the Christian home, was God is out there and all day every day he's judging you for your shit, right? And that was the relationship, and that was my understanding of it, which is why in my early 20s I was like, I don't want anything to do with that, and kind of went more like atheist for a couple years and really felt the disconnection. And now I'm coming around to this ideology that God is actually within us. And you spoke to that moment that you shared with Raina, where you felt the terror in your system and you fully permissioned it, and you did like a somatic experience on yourself in that moment, and it went into love. Like that isness, that intelligence, that energy is existing within us every moment of every single day.
That's right.
And awareness amplifies it.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
It's like awareness amplifies anything. It's like
That's
if I'm
right.
aware of the energy in my hand, it's going to amplify the energy in my hand. And the same thing within our body.
Yeah.
So as a practice, how do you on a daily, I heard you say you meditated a couple times. I'm like, dude, it's only like 10 o'clock. How the fuck? What time did you get up? what are some of your
Yeah.
rituals? What are some of your practices? What are some of the things that you do in order to amplify that energy within your body that connects to the greater intelligence of everything, everywhere, always, all at once?
Totally. Like I'm not meditating that much every day, by the way. Like sometimes I
You were
do.
just scared to come here.
It was
So you're like,
really like seriously, it was the podcast, right? So I want to show up, like it's that dedication.
Yeah.
So there's like nerves,
I
and
got
then
you.
there's contraction that shows up in my body, and parts will still show up. It's very light compared to where it used to be, but I still want to like meet those parts and be with those
Love
parts.
that.
So it's part of my practice. So I use experiences like this that I'm about to go into when I start to feel anxiety or parts. It's a good opportunity to face those parts. So that's part of my practice, is using things like this. Like I'm doing a podcast today. Here's fear. Let's be with that. Let's notice that. And then the meditations are part of my dedication to show up embodied, to show up being here with you, present, to be relaxed, to be open, my heart online, my belly online, and just having a good time, just so I can flow and just be a vessel for whatever wants to flow through me. Right. So that's one of my biggest practices. My session days, I do a lot more like cultivating through meditation practices. Right now I'm using, I think I've shared with you Reggie Ray's meditations.
oh, dude. Yeah.
Using his stuff.
You were like, you little alien child.
Get in your body.
Get in your body.
Exactly. It's like,
Get
if
it
I can get in
together.
my body, you can get in your body. So
Because Andrew and I are from the same home planet,
yeah.
you guys, just so you know. This isn't our first go around.
not from here. Yeah.
Raina one time was like, she goes, go to your home planet. And I was just like, I just went there. I'm like,
How'd
oh
it
my
feel?
God, so cool. So great.
Yeah.
It was like all iridescent. It actually kind of looked like this set, oddly enough.
Totally.
With like the iridescent lights and the lightness, and everyone was just like
Yeah.
see-through, and just full of love. And there was this image of just, we didn't walk beside each other. We kind of just walked through each other because we were all one. It was this very
wild.
weird imagery, but
Yeah.
it was just like, boom, there it is.
Isn't that amazing? Right. It's like, so my experience of that, it's like, even when the more I've worked with people, and the more they open, the more I track their energy and experience their soul. There's some souls that come from Earth that have evolved on Earth, and then souls that evolve in other dimensions, souls that evolve in other galaxies. It sounds kind of out there, but when you start to experience like health, well-being, and greater balance, you start to have this like greater awareness that expands, and you start to experience people from where they're from.
Dude.
It's wild. I thought that's why when I was going through my awakening and getting like, I thought I was going crazy. And it was actually the world's crazy.
Yeah. The
Like
world's
everything
crazy.
else is crazy.
Yeah.
And we're blocking this amazing infinite reality of what's really going on. And like some of us are not from here. And having that information as a soul is actually quite healing. It feels good when someone reflects that to you and you feel that and you experience it for yourself, and they're not telling you that.
Absolutely. I've always felt like a weirdo. I've
Yeah.
always felt so strange.
I mean, you're definitely weird. Let's be honest. We're both weird. Like,
I'm a freak. Out of place, you
Yeah.
know, like whether it was school or whatever it was. I was always the girl who I never drank growing up. I'd be reading the freaking Bible before bed. Like I was so like, I'm like, why does everyone want to go out and party? Like, let's just stay committed to growth. I was like that from such a young age.
Wow.
I felt so
that's
weird.
amazing. Yeah.
You know, my parents used to call me Matilda. Have you seen Matilda? Where they're like,
I know what
Matilda,
yeah.
stop reading. Come eat pizza with us and watch TV. Like my parents would be like, stop, like get out of your room and stop.
It's
like,
so interesting,
writing.
right? Yeah.
So interesting.
I've
Like,
had that feeling as well. Not like I've always felt like out of place, and like I can look back and reflect. Maybe it was some of my upbringing, maybe it was some trauma, maybe, who knows what it's from. But then when I start to tap in, it's quite clear. Like it's an experience that I have, and it's real. It can't. It's like
100%.
I always check. Like, am I making this shit up? Am I going crazy? But no.
Yeah.
This is real. And when you start
100%.
to wake up to the reality of what you truly are, you have those experiences.
Yeah. And it's so great. And there's this remembrance of, oh, that's how good it gets to feel. Or that's how I felt previously, whether that was a past life or maybe this life, just very early on before I had these structures and limitations and survival strategies. But there's this remembrance, there's this energy, we call it a glimpse, right? We glimpse our natural essence. We glimpse our true self. And from that place, it's so hard to forget.
Yeah.
And from that place as well, we can look around and have so much compassion for these other beings and these other souls. Like Eric, my partner, as you know, like he is from this earth. we couldn't be more
Yeah.
opposite,
Yeah.
you know? It's like,
Yeah, totally. Different energy. You guys balance each other so well, right?
yeah,
It's such a beautiful alchemy that you guys bring together.
thank you.
Yeah.
It definitely
I love
feels
that
like
you guys
that.
are together.
Aw, I love that. But I fought it at the beginning. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
gave you a kick in your ass.
seriously, Andrew like really needs to thank you at our wedding because I don't know if we'd be together if it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know, Andrew. He's like so human. He's like, you know,
And that was one session that we had that I was like, normally I don't get so involved. I remember it was like, I was like, Sam,
remember this too.
what the fuck? No, no.
Yes.
Listen, you need to stay with her.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that
I was
session.
deciding between
Yeah.
him and the
I-
other one.
Yeah, I kind of tracked both of them a little bit. I was like, I don't know about this, Sam.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad. I'm so glad you gave me the
we
push.
need that once in a while, right? Like I love when people give me a kick in my ass when it's really like aligned.
Yeah,
It feels
sometimes
good.
therapy pisses me off. I'm like, Debbie, just tell me the goddamn answer.
Fucking Debbie.
Debbie, I literally love you.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like
Totally.
that's
totally.
the setup of therapy, obviously.
Yeah.
But then there's times where it's like, just give me this straight.
You need that once in a while. There's a balance of it, right? It's like an art.
Yeah.
Like being with people, you're gonna make mistakes supporting people, but how can you like have a light hand when needed or like more of a hard hand? That sounds like aggressive, but you know what I mean? Like I need to
100%.
like really like push in this one, and like this person really needs to be met, and like what the fuck you doing? Like what's going on? This
Yes.
person needs a little more like softness, compassion, and care for what's arising, right? It's an art, and I'm continually like working toward mastery at that. I'm always working on that.
That's beautiful. I actually had a situation arise in our friendship group last week where one of our good friends, fuck, I don't know if I should tell this story actually. Fuck it.
Can't be contained.
Anyways, okay, I'll just go for it. One of our friends is in the process of making a very large decision about something that I feel very strongly about.
Mhm.
And it was one of those moments where I'm like, okay, there's one of two things. I could just trust you and trust what's going on here and just let this whole thing happen. Or I could actually just name exactly how I'm feeling in this moment and do it with love and do it with compassion and hold the vision and let her know, hey, I'm not pulling my love away, but what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it felt, I have goosebumps as I'm sharing this because it really did feel so self-honoring and truly honoring to her.
Yeah.
Of I see something that maybe you don't because you're so in it. Just like when I was in it and I was so, I wanted to almost call it like, there was like this addiction to that other person that I was wanting to be in a relationship with, remember? And you were like, no, do not go there.
Totally.
Here, go here. It's like, had you not done that in that moment and you saw it with clear eyes, I might have wasted years with this person and maybe had a baby with them, who knows? And
now you're engaged with this beautiful being.
Right.
Yeah.
So now Eric and I are on this path, which feels so amazing. And so there is a part of that, which I think is service to the higher good.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in like spirituality or like new age, like new age spirituality, like I think it could get too far where it's like,
love and light.
it's like too much of that. It's like, no, love and light and like you're being a dick.
Yeah, totally. That's like what I'm hearing in your shares. Like I could feel like what arose in you, the contraction of what you felt, and you could feel like the like you knew that something needed to be said, right? So a lot of times, like we won't voice it. We want to be love and light. We want to like hold back, but I'm hearing this deeper integration of this work into reality, into everyday life, right? Like for me, like I do a lot of this work and I continue to receive and continue to offer, and I'm always refining and trying to get better at what I'm doing, right? With compassion, not force, right?
Sure.
But it's like when I feel upset in a dynamic with somebody, like I will pull my love away at times. And what I will notice is that there's a contraction, and I'm like, and I need to like voice it. And sometimes other people that I'm with might not be being real in that dynamic. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Like, we're just like bypassing the reality. And I've had experiences even recently where it's like, I'm like, if it comes out reactive, I'm not going to react at them, but I'm going to like express myself fully and be like, I'm so fucking pissed right now. Like I feel contracted. I feel upset. And this conversation we're having is not getting anywhere because I'm so defended and my love is not here. It's blocked. And in that
Yes.
moment, like I'm reigniting that love there. Like I'm facing what's truly arising in me, that's contracting me, that's blocking my heart, blocking myself from feeling the other person and really experiencing what they're experiencing. And by me getting real with what's actually happening, with the being, even if it's reactive, I find that that's love too. And that
Yes.
reopens. What I notice is actually reopens, and it's me being so fucking real and not holding back, but not attacking.
Yeah.
Right? Not taking my reaction, like attacking, but like letting it rip in a way of like, I'm speaking what's actually happening. I'm not upset with you. I'm actually just so upset right now. Like,
That is so good. It's like removing the projection, removing everything, and just speaking the full experience.
the
Because
raw
love
experience.
is messy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
There's no
gosh.
perfection in this.
Yeah.
I love your share because like I could even feel your contraction as you were sharing it.
Yeah.
Like I could feel it. Like you're like, I'm not pulling my love away, but you were still contracted. Right? You were bringing love into that moment, and you were expressing with clarity that something is off in this decision that this person's making.
Yeah.
And I love how you shared it. I could feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's messy. Relationships are messy. It's like they're the most beautiful thing ever, and they're the messiest thing ever. And I think going back to this whole idea of being so committed to our connection and be
Yes.
so committed to our truth, it helps us navigate relationships, because we can so easily get merged or be codependent
Yep.
or be people pleasers, which all are survival strategies at the end of the day.
Yep.
All of that
That's
stuff
right.
is survival strategies.
Coping strategies. Yep.
Yeah. So if we soothe that part of us that is so terrified with our own love, with love from God, creator, whatever word you want to use, it helps us come to relationships with this self of being self-responsible, taking extreme ownership over our experience, so we
Yeah.
can actually name things.
Yeah.
And then realizing, like, even in that there's projection.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, like I got to communicate to this individual as clearly as possible with so much love. And I also named, hey, there might also be some projection
right.
in this, because your decision is a reminder of my childhood. And I
Yes.
just named that to her.
You felt it. You
Yeah.
knew. And that's such a beautiful thing. Like that's like you're taking like radical responsibility here is what I'm hearing. And like for me, I'm always thinking that too, like in the background, like when I'm in a relationship with someone, no matter what's happening, I'm always like assuming without expecting that there's projection and parts that are arising with me. And I'm so willing, maybe not in the moment, because sometimes I'm too triggered, and I'm hijacked. But I'm always willing at some point to look at it after with somebody that can support and reflecting back to me what was arising in me, so I can integrate what's needed there and come even cleaner next time with that person. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that thing called when you're like,
ASMR.
people pay for that shit, right?
Wait, here. I just got 7 million hits for
Can we
you.
do breathwork ASMR? Is
We'll
there a
just
niche
talk
for
tick
that?
this.
That sounds fucking
they go like,
creepy.
I used to actually with Felicia, I used to do this with Felicia because I showed her it. Like, so, okay, how I found ASMR.
Here we go.
I was listening to a lot of chakra music
Yeah.
in 2015. And then Spotify's like, you'll like this as well. And then
You sicko.
then it's like, and the track flipped on to ASMR. And all of a sudden I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it's like late at night, by the way. And I'm hearing, I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, and I could feel this, like, I felt experience again in my body. I became terrified from this. It wasn't the same thing as what happened with Raina, but it was like, and I'm like, I'm hearing these sounds and I'm like, what is that? And then I realized it's coming out of my speaker because it changed to ASMR. I had no idea because it's like, and I'm like, what is going on? It's like inaudible sounds. It sounds like people are in my house,
Oh my
like a
God.
nightmare horror movie.
I would shit
Like
myself.
it sounded like people were whispering in my house. Like I was like, and then I figured it out. I was like, and then I went down a journey of ASMR and I looked it up. I was like, this is weird and awesome after 16 hours of it. So good.
I'm a believer.
Yeah, I almost started my own YouTube just like licking microphones. So
It's crazy
Yeah.
the shit people get paid for these days.
there's a lot of interest. Like you can get paid a lot of money for feet.
Oh
Like,
my
that's
God,
like,
it's crazy.
I'm happy to sell my shoes. I don't know if people,
I
if
mean,
anybody
I got a wedding coming up. I
listening
need
to
to
this
pay for.
wants
I should
anything-
give it a shot.
wants anything from my closet that's been on my feet, let me know. We'll arrange it. Cool.
Slide into my DMs.
We took a turn. I don't really check my DMs. I know I do a little bit now because people send me funny things here. I sound like an old person. I'm like 90 years old. Like, people send me funny things in my messages. Like,
I think that's part of your charm though. You know, you do all this crazy, insane, beautiful spiritual work, but then you're just like so disconnected from reality at the same time.
I don't even need it. Clients just pour in, people come. It's great.
It's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
It's actually amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's been consistent since the beginning. That's the thing with this work. Like the more I've integrated and the more energy has come through me and the more I refine my connection, like it has been easier to have impact and maintain finances in a way that I never had at levels I've never experienced before, and having success. And now I'm in a new project right now. I'm opening another business in San Diego. That feels like I'm going into a little more like integrating like soul into like more reality, because parts are coming up like, oh, I just invested all this money. Like what's going to happen? And it's like this new technology that helped me so much with my brain. You know about it, shared with you. But it's like the business side, it's like, it's bringing up parts and things. So it's like, I'm going to get to like really practice like washing my hands before handling the baby with this.
100.
And it's this one is like, I'm doing it. And it feels like I'm starting from a very different place, obviously from many years ago, but I'm like having to deepen my dedication to like alignment and effortlessness, not to get pulled into like, let's work hard, let's figure this out. So it's an interesting new project.
I love that you are speaking to that. Like I said, my mastermind, so I work with a bunch of badass women and we just do cool shit. And it's called the Life Mastermind.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it stands for lucrative, impactful, fun, and easy.
Wait, say it again.
Lucrative, impactful, fun, and easy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
you're so smart with these things. This is great. What a cool acronym.
And it's the vibe. It's like, yes, we get to attract wealth. Yes, we get to have impact, and it gets to be fun. Like the more fun I have, the more money I make. That is 100%. If I'm like, oh, revenue's down this month, it's like, all right, Sam, because you were being too serious.
Yeah.
You know,
you can see that, right? It reflects
100%.
Especially when you have that energy of like your alignment is for me, when I experience your soul, it's fun. Like it's playfulness. That's part of it. There's a lot more to it, but there's a lot of playfulness in your being.
I love being playful. I love being joyful. And when my nervous system has the stability and the safety, and it has like that's met, and my connection to self is met, and my connection to God is met, the outcome is playfulness, is joy, is sarcasm, is wittiness, is all
just naturally arises.
And what I really believe is everyone's natural essence arises when they have nervous system regulation, a felt sense of safety, and a connection to God.
That's right.
Your natural essence will come through.
Yes.
Whatever your natural essence is. You know, like you and I have a very similar natural essence. But then like some of our friends, or even Eric, his natural essence is much different.
Totally.
When it's just different, but it's pure and it's him and it's beautiful and it's incredible.
It's absolutely incredible.
You
it's
know?
amazing. And there's gifts, right? Like for me, when our essence comes through, when we're feeling safe, relaxed, and at ease, our gifts come through and they come online, and there's different levels of these gifts. I mean, we can have a whole podcast on gifts in itself, but like
when Andrew farts, literal glitter comes out of his butt.
It's followed by a rainbow, and it's just absolutely profound. It's like it's a bliss fart.
You can find him on onlyfans.com.
It's blissfarts.com.
Blissfarts.com.
There's ASMR videos and bliss farts happening.
I love your journey. I love what you've chosen. I love what your soul is here to do.
Working hard on my bliss farts.
On that note,
there's so much more we could talk about. I mean, we can go.
Oh my God, dude! Thank you. This has been so fun.
I've had a blast. It's always absolute pleasure to be with you, Sam. I love it. It's an honor just to be in your presence, to be here, to be at this amazing set, to be one of the first guests here. I feel absolutely blessed.
Oh,
I
love it.
I had a blast.
I love it. I love it. Andrew, for people who are interested in connecting with you, learning about your work, learning about how they can get amongst your world, what's the best pathway for them?
Yeah. So my website's my name, DeGregorio.com. I should probably shorten that somehow because my last name.
We'll put it in the show notes,
and then
so they can just
I do
click
have
it.
an Instagram that I may use more of. It's at Awake Alignment. At Awake Alignment. That's pretty much all I have right now. And then the new business I open is Suraset, which is brain retraining and nervous system regulation. So that's if you're in San Diego.
Yeah, guys, if you are in the San Diego area, which so much of my community is, or even LA, we'll put that in the show notes as well, so you can come check it out. I want to start doing that too.
Yeah. It changed my life. I mean,
I feel like my brain's going to scan and they're like, does not compute.
Not from Earth.
Complete aliens. Tell her to go back to her home planet.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a profound. That was like Indian alien. I think it was like maybe Hindu
it's
or
a niche. I don't know.
It was great. Yeah. So that's where you can find me. That business, that new business is my new baby. It changed my life. That's why I invested in it, and I was excited to bring it to San Diego. And also, I wanted it for me. So there was like, I really needed the tech for me, and I wanted to have that impact on the community here. And it was none in San Diego. So super excited to bring Sarasette to San Diego.
So epic.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. It's
Aw,
amazing.
thank you,
It's
Sam.
amazing.
I'm proud of you too. You're an amazing being.
Aw.
Your journey has been so cool to watch. Yeah.
Aw, thanks, dude.
You're so
Thank
welcome.
you. I received that.
Yeah. Love you.
I love you too.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Can't Be
Contained.
We'll see you next week.
Can't be contained.